Hi, my name's Grant Kosior. I'm president and founder of Global Agri-Solutions, and I'm doing this little presentation to talk about the difference between strategic and tactical thinking on a farm, but more importantly, it's really called the Bear in the Woods story. This came to us by talking to one of our customers, and we were getting an understanding of what their farm's needs were, and they told a really good story about how they in fact didn't even apply for our product last year. And I asked him, I said, the guy's name was Jason, and I said, what's the reason that you didn't even apply, Jason? I mean, you've been on our product a number of years. And he goes, well, you know what, Coach, he said, my egg stability reference margin is so high that I don't even need to buy any other insurance. Egg stability is virtually free, and so my costs are covered. And so from a perspective of how Jason was looking at that, that absolutely made sense. But what had happened earlier on in the conversation is that we had a conversation with Jason and his wife Laura, and they were just talking about their farm and wondering, how things were going. They've got a son who's on the farm right now, and they've got a daughter who'd like to come back to the farm, but the farm's at a size that there's enough of a land base for the business to support 2 families, but there's not enough of a land base for a 3rd family. But yet at the same time, the daughter that wants to come home could really improve the operation because she's really a financial brain box, and it could really help the business. So with that in mind, I was thinking, okay, how can this look? And so I asked the question. It's called an R factor question that we use in our business, but really what it means is this, it's picture yourself out 5 years from now, and you're super happy with where things are in your life. You've got, in this case, kids are at home, farm has grown to a certain size, everybody's healthy, the community you live in is good, whatever the reasons are, whatever that end point is 5 years from now, that's your point. And then what we try to do is say, let's go back from that point to this point right now and ask, what have I done between now and that 5-year point from now to get us to that place of really happiness and just in a good spot where our business is? And then the other thing that you say is, what can stop us from getting there? In other words, we know that happy place, we know a bunch of the steps we should take. What's the risks of me not getting to there? And so going back to Jason's tactical decision last year to not even apply for us because he had such strong egg stability reference margins that he really didn't need any other insurance to cover his costs, made a lot of sense. But only if he was gonna probably have an auction sale next year. But he wasn't in a situation like that, and that's where the bear in the woods comes into this story. And I think about it, if you're out in the woods and you're hunting with your buddies and you're all run out of bullets and you're walking out of the forest and all of a sudden you hear some crackling in the background and you know it's a bear. Really what the thought is you don't need to be the fastest, you just can't be the slowest. But in Jason's situation, he actually has to be the fastest. And the reason why he has to be the fastest is his farm's at 7,000 acres in a very competitive landscape, and he needs to go to 10,000 acres. Problem is, there's other people that are around him if you have a circle of an hour across where people would be competing for some of the land that Jason needs to buy. He knows that he has to have enough money to win that competition. They're friends at the curling rink and they're friends at the community hall, and their kids may go to the same schools or their grandkids or whoever it may be. But in the end, they're in a competition that they have to win. And so I mentioned this to Jason and I said, you're in a competition that you have to win. What we've found and what our data has proven to us is it's in the years where it's bad that you separate the wheat from the chaff. In other words, the people who are really excellent tend to make a bigger difference between the beginning and the end in the years that are bad. And he said, well, okay, fair enough. But again, I go back to egg stability completely covers me 100%. I said, I totally agree. But here's the deal. I said to him, probably know the other 4 or 5 farms that are in your area and within that circle that have the ability to compete with you, don't you? And he goes, yeah, I have a pretty good idea. You can always tell who's good and who's not. I said, do you think their reference margins are high? He goes, well, definitely. I mean, they're all really good. The same commodity prices, same rain as I'm getting, they're gonna be doing well. I said, here's the catch. It's the opposite of the bear in the woods. You have to be fastest. And what I'm here to tell you is that 2 of those 5 guys that we think that you're talking about also carry us, along with good egg stab reference margins. And it was like this, he kind of dropped his head a little bit, and it was like a light bulb moment. It came on in his head, and he said, no way. And I said, yeah. I said, so I know you're not praying for a wreck, but you know a wreck is coming eventually. The longer you farm, the better the chance of that wreck is. And it's usually after that wreck that you'll find that there's more land that comes up. And so in order for you to be most prepared to handle that wreck is at a time when everybody else is in trouble and you just got ag stab as well as global ag. And so for every dollar that you got into a claim, in essence, you got $1.80. So when we're talking about the bear in the woods, it's not about just not being the slowest. In fact, what we mean is we really do need to be the fastest. It's about competing at our highest level, not just being average, but being the best in order to get the land or get the new bin yard or whatever it is for that expansion, regardless of whether it's a good or bad year. So when any of your advisors, whether it be bankers or accountants or consultants, say, you know what, don't spend that money because you've already got it covered for virtually free, please remind yourself that you have a strategic vision of 5 years out and you need to be number one in that area so you can achieve that vision. And the only way you do that is separate yourself in the bad years. And that's for the people who we found that really are interested in global ag, like to stack those two coverages to get them to that promised land that they want in 5 years.